Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day to everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world. Today is the 2nd of November, Saturday the 2nd of November, 8 p.m. here in Northern Ireland. And an honor and a privilege once again to be here and be present. Thank you very much for those of you who are joining us. Susan, how are you? Pauline, Desi Graham, my old buddy, Desi Graham. My word, Desi, long time no see. Great to see you, Desi. Great to have you with us. Regards to the good lady and all the family there. The discussion for this evening, dialogue discussion. Please feel free to comment. And if I can, I will comment back. If not, during the recording thereafter, I will. Topic of discussion this evening is, in life, we choose our friends. But do we actually choose our family too? And I want to go actually one step beyond this life. Do we actually choose our family? Do we actually choose the location that we're incarnated into? Which of course links me on to the next subject, which is reincarnation. Does it exist? Is it real? So we're going to have kind of an open dialogue, and I would like to share some of my own personal experiences around both of these matters. Because a number of us are actually feeling, increasingly so, that we may have more in common with friends than we do with biological family. Someone said recently, if I was to choose my friends, I wouldn't choose such and such member of my family. Yeah, indeed. Okay, who have we got? Dawn, Imelda, how are you? Joan, how are you, dear? Francis Murray, my good friend. Lester Gordon. Yeah, Dawn Moreno, pre-birth agreements. Yep, that's it. Pre-birth agreements, spiritual contracts. So we're going to discuss this evening. As some of you know, I came from a fundamentalist Christian background, neither Protestant or Catholic. And here in Northern Ireland, that's like hen's teeth. Hen's teeth don't exist. You know, in Ireland, if you're a Christian, you're either Protestant or Catholic. And you go to school, was one of the questions, the first question they actually asked you when you were enrolling. What religion are you? Yeah, a Christian. Yeah, but what type of a Christian? What type of a Christian? You got to be a Protestant or Catholic. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, I was neither Protestant or Catholic, because my grandparents on my mother's side of the house in County Tyrone, and my grandmother on my father's side of the house away down in County Cork, both removed themselves from organised religion, i.e. Church of Ireland and Presbyterianism, at the turn of the previous century, i.e. the 1900s, early 1900s. So, could it be that I chose my parents? Could it be that my parents chose their parents? Could that be? Could it be that I chose to incarnate in Northern Ireland, which has been a hotbed of religion and politics for 400 years? Could it be? Anyway, we're going to get into this dialogue. But before I do so, playing my dear friend Denise Hagen, Amazing Space CD. There you go. Look at that for colors. The rose-colored heart. Welcome home. Do you see what it says? Welcome home. This is what we're talking about. Welcome home. Does that mean we have to leave this earthly body and mind to go home, if we can be at home right here, right now? Yeah, we talked a lot about that in a recent video. So we're going to touch on all these things. Playing track number 3 from Denise's Amazing Space CD, which is actually the life I've been dying to live. Go check that one out. Maybe I'll put a link to it in the description here below. So, the life I've been dying to live. Denise's own words and beautiful song. So that's what's playing in the background. Okay, another question actually that is posed, is blood thicker than water? I'm going to get into that one. And then, of course, reincarnation. Okay, announcements. Those of you who are interested in having one-to-one appointments, please feel free. Send me an email to info@samueljennings.life or visit my website, samueljennings.life, and send an inquiry. Always delighted to help those who are ready to help themselves. And a big thumbs up, namaste. Shout out to those who are in the at present and presently doing so. Helping them help themselves is an honor and a privilege, and you know who you are. And I congratulate you and salute you. It takes a lot of courage to look in the mirror and say, you know something, I need help. And that's where I slot in. I help people who are ready to help themselves. Had enough crap. Yeah. Anyway, they've had enough crap. They want to be free. They want to be free. Okay, what else? No video tomorrow. Yes, because I'm going to be with my very dear friend, soul brother, soulmate, Anthony, Carlin, and his dearly beloved Maxine at their energy workshop, energy healing workshop, the inaugural one in the town of Ballymena in Northern Ireland, Ballymena. So I'm there tomorrow with my dear friend, soul sister, Donna Hutchings. And we are going to be attending and supporting Anthony and Maxine in the first of their energy workshops, a major watershed day in Anthony and Maxine's life, major. So in the foreseeable future, Anthony is going to be talking in more detail about that. And we may have him actually on here, if not here, actually on the Awakening Academy group page in a live webinar, or indeed certainly an introductory video to start with. Okay, so let's do a relax I am within, and then we'll crack on with the topic of today. I'm very excited about this topic of today because it's incredibly dear to my heart for the reasons which will become evident. Okay, this relax I am within mantra is a breathing exercise and mantra. Relax I am within. Breathing exercise given to me 21 years ago. What it actually does is it teaches us how to breathe as we did as kids, because most adults have forgotten how to. It's belly breathing. When we go to put a child down to sleep, it's asleep in a matter of seconds. That is if they're ready for bed. And they don't have a care in the world. They live in a wee world of their own. So where did the adults get lost in? Where they lie awake at night worrying about stuff, or stressed and anxiety and unforgiveness and regret and past thoughts and future thoughts, and can't sleep. Put a child down to sleep, out like a light. Same with the dog, same with the cat, same with everything else in creation. So the only part of creation that doesn't actually live in this state of alpha frequency is adult humans. So this little exercise was given to me 21 years ago to help me and help others by Wally Minto right across the world, if at all possible. This was his mission, to teach this, but he passed over 19 years ago. So I've taken up the mantle, if you like, to share it. And I would sincerely hope and pray, I adjure you who are listening to this, please share this, because this is Wally's mission. Not my mission, it's Wally's mission. Please do this. Share this relax I am within mantra and breathing exercise with everyone, starting with yourself and your loved ones and your family. Okay, so breathing in through the nose. Why in through the nose? Well, we've got two nostrils. One goes to the one side of the head and another one goes to the other side of the head. In other words, we've got hemispheres in the brain, left brain, right brain. One is male and one is female. One is logical, one is sympathetic, creative. One is linked to our inner conscious awareness, our gut feeling. And the whole idea is to bring the balance back into our lives, bring the balance between feeling and logic, thinking and feeling, being the truth of who we actually are, and the head is just a tool for the expression of that. So, very simple exercise, and we're going to do it right now, and I would ask you to join me in this. Breathing in through the nose. Repeat the word relax, 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 relax. In through the nose. And repeat the words I am, I am, I am, I am. In through the nose. Repeat the words within, 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 within. Thank you. So the truth of who we actually are is within. It's not here. This is the altered ego mindset, that which is given to past and future, never being present. 30,000 thoughts a day in the past, 30,000 thoughts a day in the future. The human mind in its altered ego state has no concept of being present. So this exercise was given to me 21 years ago to retrain myself how to be still, as the biblical chapter or verse in the 46th Psalm says, be still and know. That's what this does. Be still and know that I am. And the I am in us all is exactly the express image of the creator source, whose name is I am that I am. Okay, so that's the truth of who we actually are, in here, not here. So it'd be a good idea to live from here, wouldn't it? Well, you know, we were there one time. We did it as kids. We lived by our intuition. We lived by our instinct. We lived by our imagination, our own wee world, without a care. So can you imagine actually being back to that state of being without care in a world of our own? Doesn't mean to say we neglect what's going on out there, not at all, but we are able to deal with it out there because we are at peace within here. So highly recommend, please get your post-it sticky notes, you know, those post-it notes, and write it up all over your home. Put it in your office, put it in the center of the steering wheel of the car as a reminder to breathe and repeat the words, relax, I am within. Okay, let's get into the information for this evening. Yeah, so in life we choose our friends. Yes. And when we're actually on this journey, we become incredibly selective, this spiritual journey. Some of us may have been finding that the more we get to know ourselves, the more, how should I put it? I don't want to use the word intolerant, but to some degree, we become less tolerant of crap. We become less tolerant of being disrespected. We become more aware of self-esteem, self-respect, self-worth, self-love. And as we are being and doing that, we are attracting those who are on a similar frequency, who are also being and doing the same thing, i.e. respecting themselves, loving themselves, caring for themselves. What does that mean? Well, what that actually means is that we tend to distance ourselves from those who don't necessarily respect us or honor us or care. Why? Because when an individual is not yet respecting others, it's an indication that they're not yet respecting themselves. Yeah. Now that's okay. because we love anyway. But does it mean we take the crap? No. So we create a safe distance, separation, sufficiently to ensure that we keep our own vibrational frequency high, and we attract other people of the same higher frequency. And we repel those situations and people that are not of high frequency. What I mean by that, I mean low frequency, which is fear, fearful. We don't want it in our lives. We quite frankly do not want it in our lives whenever we are dedicated and focused on this spiritual journey, as I call it, the ascension process, or known as the ascension process. So in that way, yes, we choose our friends. But what about family? Okay. As we are going through this shift, if you like, paradigm shift from the head, or that which was value, that which we, how would I put it, that which we appreciated in the past of our lives, or that which we tended to be caught up in our past of our lives, not past life, I'm not going to get there yet, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but in the previous of this life, when we were caught up in the fear and the drama and the crap and the head stuff, when we were unconscious of the truth of who we actually are, when we began to shift then, we began to, as I said, separate and attract other people, which also meant removing ourselves from perhaps family, biological family. And personally speaking, I know exactly how it feels, because, and it becomes all the more pronounced at inverted commas family get-togethers, don't seem to have that much in common anymore. And in actual fact, it's almost a laborious exercise. I don't know if some of you can relate to what I'm talking about. We have much more in common with our friends now, our soul brothers and sisters, our connections, than we have with our biological families. Perhaps some of you know what I'm talking about, because you're also experiencing the same thing. However, could it be that before we came here, i.e. before we incarnated here, we actually chose our parents, we chose the geographical location, we chose the genealogy, if you like. As I touched on at the start of the video, my grandparents opted out of organized religion and politics in Ireland at the turn of the 1900s. I mean, can you imagine that? A country that's a hotbed of religion and politics. My grandparents on my mum's side opted out of it, and my grandmother on my father's side from County Cork, known as the Rebel County. But my grandmother opted out of religion and politics in the early 1900s, prior to the separation of Ireland. So my parents then actually lived Christian life, which was basically very much based on the fundamentals of love thy neighbor as thyself, like the teachings of Christ, but not affiliated to any religious organization, church, none whatsoever. Didn't have it, didn't want it. When they actually wanted to meet and discuss and share with others, they met in people's homes. No churches, no spires, no towers. Now, did that mean that they had complete and utter peace in their lives at all times? Not necessarily, but their intention was pure and true. So anyway, along yours truly comes in 1963, and as early as age 7, when we moved to this home here, and there was a family get-together, already at that stage, at age 7, off I went across the fields with the 2 dogs, because there was housewarming get together here with friends and family. And I felt I had more in common with the two dogs than I did with my biological family at age 7. Now, that being said, could it be that those, my siblings, could it be that yours truly, or every child, comes in to be a teacher to the parents rather than the parents teachers to them, more or less? Could it be that the children are button pushers for parents? Could it be that the siblings are button pushers for each other? Could it be that perhaps maybe we had past lives together in some shape or form? Could it be that there were karmic situations, unresolved stuff that needed to be resolved? Could that be the case? Could it be that, you know, bless my sister, chalk and cheese? That's the way we are. But she has been one of my best teachers. Yeah, I mean it, one of my best teachers. Okay. So, which brings me on to this, you know, this phrase that says, is blood thicker than water? We often have heard or maybe used that phrase, is blood thicker than water? Blood meaning biological family connections. Now, this came very forcibly in my meditation the other day, recently. Is blood thicker than water? And the answer is no. What do I mean by water? Water, if we go to, there's a story that Christ actually talked about in the John's Gospel, chapter 4, where he had a by chance, not coincidental, not meeting with a lady called the Woman of Samaria. And they met at this well, and they had this dialogue, and the dialogue was about where the Samaritans worship and where the Jews worship and la 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 la. Yeah, not much has changed, has it? So they were dialoguing or discussing, you know, where the Jews worship is there and where the Samaritans worship is over there. Not a pile has changed, huh? Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. But what he actually said was that when we were born of the water that I shall give you shall be in you, the well of water springing up, the well of water springing up. Now that's the first reference. Also further on in that chapter, if my memory serves me correctly, Christ had an interaction with a gentleman called Nicodemus. And Nicodemus was an elder or of the Jewish tradition. And they had this conversation about what the Christians call being born again. And Nicodemus was bemused by this. I mean, how can you be born again? I mean, do you go through the conception period of 9 months, or sorry, the conception and then the gestation period of 9 months? How do you do that? Well, what he was getting at was this: born of spirit and born of water, the water of life and the spirit. And what he was touching on is that when we remember who we actually are and we re-engage with this well of water within ourselves, what we are actually doing is rekindling, if you like, reconnecting to the I am source. The I am source within us all is the well of water. The I am source within us all is the key to reconnecting to the life that is eternal. That's it. And that's what Christ meant by the words born again. It's actually just very simple. It's being reborn, remembering who we are and what we are. It's not a mythical or a mystical experience as believed by Christians. Believe me, I know, because I had this profession of Christianity at age 14. And that's what fundamentalist Christians believe in. You must be born again. You got to go through this mystical, mythical, and with respect, I say with respect, but it's no more and no less than reconnecting to the source of who we are. In other words, wiping the slate clean and coming back to where we were disconnected from. That's it. Now, so let me ask that question again. Is blood thicker than water? Well, what I'm actually saying is that when we are reborn of the I Am presence in the water of life, the kingdom of heaven within, that's a spiritual birth. That is a spiritual reawakening. That's a spiritual, eternal, and infinite awakening, a remembering. And once we get it, once we have it, we are not going to sleep again, provided we stay connected to the source. In other words, that water of life bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up until it overcomes the altered ego, as we discussed in a previous video. And the ego becomes in harmony, just as Christ talked about, soul, heart, mind, and body at one, and our neighbor as ourselves. That's it. So, is blood thicker than water? No. Are biological family connections stronger than soul, infinite, and eternal connections? Absolutely not. Because all the biological family actually is no more and no less than where we parachuted. Excuse the analogy. We took on this bodysuit. We took on this mind. We took on this human form. Excuse me. And we chose the family to actually come into. Why did we choose the family? Because it was unfinished business. We came in to resolve karma with our siblings and vice versa. And we came in to be as teachers. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pattern breakers. You see, my grandparents were pattern breakers. I mean, goodness knows how many generations on my mother's side and my father's side, grandfathers and or grandparents on both sides, had been indoctrinated and controlled by the dogma of religion. Goodness knows how long. Hey, how far back do you want to go? Since the inception of a thing called Christianity. But these brave souls at the turn of the 1900s stepped out and said, well, we don't want organized religion anymore. We don't want politics anymore. Yeah. So whenever I look back, I can see it very, very clearly. You know, I chose Northern Ireland to incarnate into, and I chose my biological parents, absolutely, who had already taken so many steps prior to the previous generation. Grandparents took the steps, then my parents took more steps. Further and further away from the world mindset of religion, politics, and fear and control and dogma and all that stuff. So whenever I came in, I didn't have to deal with a lot of that because they had already done so. Okay, so was blood thicker than water? Spiritual connections or soul connections. I'm going to get into this now. My soul met your soul. I haven't been the same since. Those of us who are soul brothers and soul sisters, soul mates. I discussed this recently in a previous video. When you're looking for a soulmate, mate with their own soul first. Get this here, in here, mate with their own soul, and then we got it. And then we connect with others, soul brothers and soul sisters. Not necessarily anything physical at all, by the way. In actual fact, it's a spiritual, it's the soul, heart, and soul, heart, and mind connection. The only physical interaction actually is our dialogue, and we just feel so akin. We feel this kindred spirit, we feel this kinship, we feel this way beyond the human connection, way beyond that which we have with our biological family. In actual fact, what I have with most of my biological family is the same surname, period. Not being disrespectful, it's just the way it is. You know, people like Francis Murray here, people like Donna Hutchings, people like Andrea Gurley, Andrew Maguire, you know, people like Matthew Manai, people, goodness knows, those of you who are listening and watching this, my Facebook friends, you know, nearly 5,000 of them, probably much more in common than I have with some of my biological family, if not all of them. Why is that? It's called soul connection. It's called spiritual connections. We're on this journey home to the truth of who we actually are, away from the lie that we were programmed into, that we realized that we're not that anymore. Left the 3D world behind and moving home to the truth of who we actually are. Okay. All right. Soul connections. Another meme here. Shown this one before, I'm going to show it again. Connect with those who remind you who you are. That's soul connections. And here's another one. I really love this one. Soul family. No, you did not come here alone. The people that cross your path are never random. As you align with your soul purpose, the universe pulls closer towards you. The people who incarnated here, with the same goal. When you meet soul family, it's like reconnecting with a forgotten friend. We probably were together in past lives, you know. That's it. How many of us have had this experience? I know you. I remember when I met Francis Murray for the first time. Francie and I were just discussing this the other day. You know, nearly 21 years ago. We recognized each other. We'd never met each other in this life at all. Well, within 30 seconds, recognized each other. That's the way it is. Well, I'm going to touch on something here now before I get into reincarnation in more detail. Twin flames. I will forever remember the night I met my twin. Within 30 seconds, when we looked into each other's eyes, we looked into each other's souls. We remembered instantly. Has it been plain sailing ever since? Twin flames are the ultimate button pushers. Absolute. But I mean the epitome of eternal and infinite connection. Twin flames is like twin souls. It's like biological twins, but they're twin souls. Yeah. You know, whenever she feels the way she's feeling, I know, because I'm feeling it. Even physical symptoms. We almost share exactly the same birth date, different mothers, almost the same birth date. We look like twins, physically. So much of that which we share biologically, we would absolutely pass for very close siblings. Much more than that I could share, but it's too sacred and it's not the forum for doing so. However, what is, and this is particularly dear to my heart, some of you know that I had a brother, and he passed over on the 2nd of March 1975. I touched on it in a previous video. He had heart and lung challenges, and he had too many instances of shortness of breath, And at age 14, he died of heart failure. I was 11. And it had a very profound impact on my life and on my mother and my father, of course, and my sister. Anyway, fast forward. When I met my twin, she had a daughter, has a daughter. And her daughter, to use a term called spit and image of my departed brother. So much so, when you put a photograph of them together, two school photographs of them together, they're identical twins. Now, when this child came into my life, and I call her my stepdaughter, my biological mother had two surviving children, but neither my biological sister or myself have any children of our own. However, when this 7-year-old little girl was introduced to my mother, they had such an amazing soul connection that instantly she recognized the child. And her words were, "She's a very special child," which she is. And my mom asked me the question. She said, "Samuel, you kept this one quiet," because she was sure she was my daughter, because she's got all my coloring, she's got the dark eyes. But when we look closer at a photograph of my brother, she's an identical twin. So something more amazing became apparent then. The more I get to know this little girl and her mother, the more we realize how special this child actually is. This child at age 2 was able to read Egyptian hieroglyphs, she was gathering the, inverted commas, Egyptian gods, and she knew the names of them all. So I have had a major affinity with a past life in Egypt. I was very aware of that from a very young age as well. So her mother and I made a commitment to the child and ourselves to visit Egypt when the child was 9. So we visited the Valley of Kings. And but before I actually say what happened at the Valley of Kings, prior to my meeting the child and her mother, she used to say to her mother, "I remember running through the reeds." I mean, this little girl is only 3 or 4. She used to say to her mother, "I remember running through the reeds by the River Nile." And very vivid descriptions and explanations of her life in Egypt, past life. I'd never been in Egypt in this life, until she visited the Valley of Kings when she was 9. So when she visited the Valley of Kings, she says it's no resemblance whatsoever, very little resemblance actually, of what she remembered it as. And amazingly, when she was accompanied by the tour guide with the rest of the tourists into, you know the story, and go down into so it's all touristified, if you like now. So the tour guide, and this child of 9 years of age was telling the tour guide what she remembered. And she was very clearly explaining what it was like when she was there in her past life. So numerous things have happened ever since, and I'm not going to get into those, but a very, very, very special young lady, very gifted young lady, but incredibly special. So much so that I feel not only a major affinity with the child, who is now not a child, but very dear to my heart. And I feel she just may be a reincarnation, not only of my brother, but absolutely and definitely from a past life in Egypt. Incredibly gifted young lady. Now, there are other, what I would ask to do is, please feel free to go on YouTube and Google some of these very clear reincarnation stories. And I'm going to attach a couple of links at the end of this in the descriptions. You know, this whole concept of reincarnation was something that I always felt was real, but an absolute taboo within, totally taboo. You know, the concept in Christianity is there's only one life. That's it. One life. You get one shot at it. Well, when we have had so many encounters of deja vu, don't I know you from somewhere before? Haven't we met before? And when we hear of stories and real, almost like real life stories from children, and you know what's great about children? It's real, it's authentic, it's not made up. They're describing verbatim what it was like, so it's not made up stuff. It's real. And you know how you know it's real? Because you feel it. We feel it. So, there are numerous actually on there on YouTube. You go and have a look. But as I say, I will attach a link to some of those. So why do we connect? Why reincarnate? All right, let me put it like this. Let's say, for example, at one stage we were like that. Then that happened. Okay? So in other words, the truth of who we actually are got covered up. The I am presence, the soul and the heart. We were disconnected from the water of life. We were disconnected from our true essence. In other words, we get lost. Many, many people, me included, I'm sure, in previous lives. Absolutely in previous lives. I wouldn't be back in this one, would I? Let's imagine that 7 billion souls were here before, huh? Could that be possible? And they're back again to have another crack at it. Because perhaps they arrived like that to a large degree, but they got polluted and they died like that. Well, I'm just firing these possibilities out. So could it be that the only reason for any incarnation, the only reason for any life on this planet, as I have said umpteen times, is to remember who we are, what we are, and why we're on this planet. And who we are is a spiritual being, and what we are is love and light. So who we are is love, what we are is light, a spiritual being on planet Earth having a human experience. Well, once we have mastered the remembering of the truth of who we actually are and what we are and why we're here, we ain't coming back, folks. Unless we come back as an ascended master. So this is it. And this is what this ascension process is all about. Ascension process is, this is it. This is the opportunity to remember who we are, what we are, and why we're here. And this is also, could it be that this is also why we are having the relationships that we're having the connections that we're having, that we have the interactions with our biological family that we've been having, the interactions that we've been having with soulmates that push buttons, and then the ultimate of all button pushers, the twin flames. Why else would it be? You see, the major reason for any of us coming to the planet is absolutely to remember that we're a spiritual being. And that's it. It's really quite, I feel it's quite simple. So, and of course, when we come on the journey ourselves of this spiritual journey home to the truth of who we actually are, as I said earlier here, we connect with other people who are on the same journey, and we become inner self-reliant and interdependent with other individuals who are reconnecting. What does reconnecting mean? They're going through that being reborn, remade, wipe the slate clean, start over. Another way for saying born again is starting over. Just start over. Now, when we arrive here, if there's stuff from a past life that needs resolving, would it be a good idea to resolve it and have it sorted so we don't have to come back again? Would that be a good idea? Absolutely. So could this be the reason why we connect with certain individuals, especially soulmates? Because soulmates may not necessarily be the life partner for ever, amen, until they pass over. May not be. Soulmate might be no more and no less. We've got unresolved business here from a past life. We've got to sort this out. Once we get it sorted out, thank you very much. Wonderful, move on. Yeah. How do I know? Well, I've had that experience on a few occasions. Both of us knew that when we connected. We've unresolved business, didn't know exactly what it was until we went through the experience on the interaction of interacting with each other. And then we got the message. Up to me to get the message that was being brought to me, up to them to get the message that was being brought to them. Yeah. So could it be that all relationships, whether they be biological family or whether they be connections that we actually connect with as friends, are all opportunities to assist us in the remembering of who we are, what we are, and why we're here? Okay, what I've been feeling in the last week or so, especially, increasingly so, is the intensity and the acceleration of this ascension process. And what I'm getting at is this: we're being pushed further and further and further into spiritual beingness, where the 3D world is almost like a distant memory for some of us. It's like, that's like a past life. We're in this life here where we're trying to coexist with a 3D world that for some of us is a distant memory now. And where we're living is like we're living in a new realm. Well, guess what the new realm is? The new realm is known as the fifth dimension. What it actually is this Christ consciousness on planet Earth. And our heart's intention is to be there All the time we find it difficult to coexist at times with the 3D world. Now, in an upcoming video, I'm going to talk more about how to assist ourselves and each other in staying there, not neglecting the 3D, because you know we've got to coexist. Remember, we're spiritual beings still here on planet Earth, having a human experience. Now, please understand what I'm getting at. A spiritual being on planet Earth having a human experience. I didn't say spiritual being caught up in the world, low frequency. I didn't say that. Further and further away from the fear and control dogma and the altered ego mindset in the world it created. So we're living in a different place now. And that's why many of us are finding we really only want to interact and communicate and interconnect with people on the same frequency, same wavelength. Limited association at best with low frequency world situations. What does that mean? Don't get caught up in the crap. That's what it means. Do not lower our frequency to the low frequency of what's going on out there. Being aware of it, yes. And you know, Christ said that 2,000 years ago, being in the world, but not of it. What did he mean by not of it? Not of its low frequency mindset stuff. And this is what's happening. We're being pushed further and further and further away from it. Well, why would that be? Why would that be? Well, here's why it would be. Because it's collapsing in a heap. In a recent video, I talked about when's a good time to get off a sinking ship. As soon as you know it's sinking, I feel. Wouldn't hang about to get our feet wet, you know. You want to get your feet wet, get off. Get in the lifeboat. Get a life, a real life, a spiritual lifeboat. So what I'm actually saying as well is that we're becoming more spiritual. Does that mean to say we're neglecting our earthly side? No. But what it means is that the body and the mind is run by our I am presence, our soul, and our heart. That's what I mean by spiritual being. So the body and the mind are only tools. Because let me put it like this. When the body and the mind, I touched on this in a previous video, have you ever actually watched someone with pre-senile dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease like what my father passed over from? Have we ever watched that? That's a dying mind, dying brain before the human body passes over. It's no fun to watch. But let me put it like this. Let's say, for example, that all the mind and the body are only a vehicle for the I am presence, the soul, and the heart to get around in. Huh? So I touched on this in a previous video, that the more aware we become of the truth of who we actually are and what we are and why we're here, is that we become 90% spiritual being and only 10% human. I mean it. 90% spiritual being and 10%. In other words, that which we are doing with our lives is an expression of the being, and the mind and the body are no more and no less than 10%. So 90% of our time, inverted commas, is taken up by our well-being internally and externally, because we've got to look after the vehicle, look after the mind and the body, which is the vehicle for the I am presence, soul, and heart to get around in. So when we have finished what we came here to do, listen carefully, when we have finished what we came here to do, we're out of here. And we look forward to it. Job done. Thank you very much. Good luck. See ya. Yeah. You see, the only reason why this thing of fear of death come about, when we reconnect to the source of eternal life, the water of life welling up within us, out the window goes the fear of death. All it actually is that the suit, the body suit, the mind suit has come worn out. Well, think about it. Feel about this for a second. If you have a suit or whatever garment, whatever it actually is, once it's worn, it's worn. Well, you get a new one. Well, let's call it incarnation, will we? Let's call it reincarnation. So if the job isn't completed, we'll go home, get dusted down like the child, get the knees that have been bloodied and whatever else, get dusted down, right, where you go, back in again. Now I'm going to post some links here about reincarnation. Some people actually come back very, very quickly. Very quickly. Some is a few years. But it doesn't matter. Here's the bottom line. The purpose for any incarnation or reincarnation is to remember that we're spiritual beings here on planet Earth having a human experience. But once we remember that we're a spiritual being and we're true to that and we remember it completely in its entirety, who we are, what we are, and why we're here. Do you really think we need to come back? Unless we're coming back as an ascended master. This is the reason for life on this planet. That's it. No other reason. So you know what that actually means? When we actually get that, our entire lives change. Our values change. Everything is realigned from the inside out. Where we were before we remembered who we are, what we are, and why we're here, was we were outside with no in at all. No inside. The inside was covered over. So this is what these videos are about. This is what my workshops are about. This is what the one-to-ones are about. This is what the Awakening Academy, when Matthew and I set it up, this is what this is all about, to help people come home, just like our dear friend Denise is playing in the background. Look at that. Welcome home. Now, do you think she actually means that she's speaking from the spiritual realm? You know, heaven, if you like. Thy kingdom come, the kingdom of heaven. When Christ uttered those words, or they were uttered in Aramaic, but translated into English, thy kingdom come, right here, right now. Thy will be done in earth, which means earthen bodies. Not on earth. It's not on earth. Look at the words. The translation is, thy will be done in earth. So in earthen bodies, human bodies and minds, thy will, the will of the I am source, being done right here, right now. So once we get that, the fear of death goes out the window. In fact, we welcome it. I feel I've said enough tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to share this, and I'm going to put up some links to YouTube links for you to listen to about reincarnation. I want to thank you all, and for being who you are, for being what you are. But you know, it just comes to mind another line that Christ actually said. To know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Remember, he said, I am the way. I am the truth. I am eternal life. It's the I am within you and I is the way. That's the Christ. What he was talking about was not Jesus. What he was talking about is I am, i.e. Christ. Within us all is the way, is the truth, is eternal life, is the resurrection and the life. That's what he was getting at. We all have access to it, deep within us all. We just got to find it. And when we find it, that's the truth that sets us free. Free from what? Free from the bondage of the fearful mind, the altered ego, all the dogma, all the lies, all the indoctrination, all the rubbish. We bin it, we detox it. We keep the beliefs that are pertinent and relate to the inner truth. Like be still and know that I am. Like love the Lord thy God with thy heart, mind, soul, and strength. Like love thy neighbor as thyself. Who is the Lord thy God? It's the I am that I am within us all. So what I desire for myself, I desire for you all. I desire for everyone. And I sincerely hope that we all fall out of fear into love and remember who we are, what we are, and why we're here. So be it. Namaste. Heart hugs.